Thank you for joining She Can, the podcast. I am so excited to be bringing you another episode after a little bit of a hiatus. So how are you coping? How are you coping with life? It's wild, wild west out there, isn't it? There's so many things at the moment that I feel so strongly about. You just open your phone, open the news, and you've got the state of the world. First of all, the fact that there's missiles in the sky in the safest city in the world. We've got the elite who are all corrupt. We've got a war zone happening. And then you've got the misogynistic manosphere eradicating all of the good work that we've done to gain female equality for decades and decades. And that combined with your mental load of your kids and everything that they come with and all of their clubs and all of their activities and all of their mental health and their exams and all of the things, and that chucked into the melting pot with your career that you've worked so hard to get over the years and trying to balance that. And then throw into that storm, you've got your perimenopause and your hormones and all of the things that we as women are having to deal with. And the fact that you maybe feel yourself 2 weeks out of every 4 because of that time in your life. I mean, maybe it's just me, or maybe you can relate. Maybe you're sitting there thinking, oh God, me too. And if there is ever a time in your life that you think I could do with just crawling under the covers right now and hiding from the world, this would probably be it. So if you're looking for an excuse not to go after your goals or live your best life, then you could probably pick from the menu of the things that I've just mentioned, because there are so many things available to you right now if you're looking for that excuse. But something that's really struck me recently is the fact that we are actually needed more than ever to become that best version of yourself. When you feel like you need it least is when the world needs it most. I recently was reminded of a book called Map of Consciousness by David Hawkins. And in that book, he speaks about all of the different energy fields in the world. So you've got the really low level energy, things like apathy, fear, anger, all of the things that everything that's happening in the world right now brings up in you, that fear, that what's going to happen next, that apathy of I actually just don't know if what I am doing is making any difference, and that anger of how can this be happening in the world and we're not doing anything about it. We're all experiencing those energy levels. And then on the other side of the scale, you've got joy and peace and happiness. And when we can find ourselves in that joy and peace and happiness, we have a massive impact on the rest of the world. But what's happening right now collectively is so many of us are stuck in that fear, apathy, anger state, and we're scared to do anything. And particularly as females, this is really important because we have this innate feeling, most of us, that what we do affects other people in a negative way. So it's that feeling of you're scared to shine your light brightly in case it dims someone else. It's why people are afraid of making money, because their wealth gets to a certain level and then it all starts to unravel. It's why people get to a certain level of success in their life and then they think, how am I to be the one who has all of these things? Who am I to be the one who has the relationship and has the family life and has the house and has the happiness and has the gratitude? Who am I to have all of those things? Something has to give, because it's becoming too much territory. It's becoming close to the territory of, oh, no one's going to like you because who do you think you are? And that's why we keep ourselves small. And when so much is happening in the world, often we can feel like, well, why should I be the one that has the incredible life? Why should I be the one that's going after my goals? How is that fair that my life is thriving and these people on the other side of the world are not? and so far from thriving. People are barely surviving. How is it fair that I get to do that? And what I'd love to get across to you in this episode is the fact that when we strive and when we become the best version of ourselves and when we go after goals, it does not take away from other people. It's the same as you creating more wealth in your own life does not affect other people who have less. So you creating less for yourself doesn't make people any wealthier in another place. That's often why we stay the same, because we feel like, well, if they're suffering, so should I be. If they're in that position, then so should I be. Who am I to step out with that? And it's bigger than that. It's an underlying subconscious that we have governing what we do in our lives all of the time. And this is what I do with intuitive psychology coaching. 5% of your life is governed by your conscious. 5% is the decisions that you make, the thoughts that you think, the habits that you are actively making part of your life. 95% of your life is ruled by the subconscious. And that's where you've experienced something, or someone said something to you, or it's the way that you've been brought up. It's things that have happened, could be years and years ago, that are still governing the way that you are today. And subconsciously, with everything happening in the world, we are keeping ourselves small because we feel like ourselves creating success will take away from other people. And the reality is it won't. When you're going back to the lessons from the Map of Consciousness book, the best way to improve a collective situation is for you to raise your own energy, for your energy field to get stronger, to get more vibrant, to get more joyous. So really the solution is for us all to feel good, particularly as women, particularly as the people who are looking after other people. Unless you feel good, unless you start looking after yourself, unless you start going after what you want to do, unless you start living in your authenticity and your own truth, you're going to be in the same position or worse off in 5 years' time. And collectively, as a society, we are not going to see any improvement. The solution, I believe, is for us to feel good. And what does that look like? It looks like doing what you want to do in your life, being the person that you want to be in your life, regardless of what other people are thinking, regardless of the judgments that other people may have, because the reality is people will judge anyway, regardless. And what we know is that subconsciously we sabotage ourselves to keep other people happy or to keep ourselves a certain size. And honestly, this podcast is, for me, I got to a certain level and it was doing well and listeners were growing. And then I started putting on the brakes. And subconsciously, it was because I hadn't moved into that identity yet. As a human, the greatest force is for us to remain consistent with the identity we have for ourselves. So if you're trying to put yourself in a different room, if you're trying to create different things in your life and your identity hasn't caught up yet, then you will end up sabotaging it in some way. If you think of, have you ever seen that reel where there's two girls and it's like there's your other bestie over there and the girl looks and then the original bestie standing behind her and the original bestie pulls her ponytail and drags her back into the pool like, ah! That's what I think of when I think of self-sabotage, because you go to make a move and then, you go to make a change and then, you go to see success and then, you start to build up money in your bank account, you start to build your wealth and then, burn it because it's not safe. It's not safe for you to have that amount of money. You go to write a book and then actually abandon it because who do you think you are to be that kind of author? What will those people think? As humans, we have this innate need to be part of a community and part of a group. And if subconsciously we think that people in a group will not like or agree or approve of what we're trying to do, then we can end up sabotaging it because at the end of the day, underneath all of the fear of what people think and all of that, is a need for love and being accepted by the group. And we will do so much in order to remain accepted. But the reality is, sometimes when you're creating change in your life, these people are not going to be your people. You may lose people along the way when you're following your path of what you actually want to do, when you're following a path of what you really feel is you want to carve out for yourself in your life. You will possibly lose people along the way because that doesn't fit with their ideal of what you are or their identity for you. So you have to follow what your identity is for yourself and be really strong and know that. So if you're feeling the weight of the world on your shoulders right now, if you are feeling like you can't live the way that you want to live because of everything that's happening, I would just urge you to dial into where that's coming from and dial into the fact that your success is not going to make this any better. In fact, completely the opposite. Your success and you living a vibrant life and you looking after your happiness and your peace and protecting your joy and those little moments of joy actually on an energetic level is going to have a massive impact on other people. And it's really important to think of it that way, because I feel like at this point we're either in a position where all we're doing is moaning about everything that's happening in the world and being conditioned that things are really hard and there's so much fear and angst and all of that. Or you maybe turn on a podcast and you're listening to someone with 1 million followers telling you all about how to live your life and how to personally develop more, how to grow more. And it may feel like they're sitting in an ivory tower teaching you about how you can do better. And what I want this podcast to be and this new season to be is real stories from real women who have overcome real adversity and they've found their own growth regardless, and they've managed to create change in their life. They've managed to change their identity. They've managed to create a new circumstance for themselves and grow with that. So real stories from real women with the warts and all, because it's not easy. Growth is not easy. And often to grow, you have to lose parts of yourself. And that's something that we don't talk about enough. You have to lose former versions of yourself. You have to decide that you are moving forward in a way that people maybe didn't have you in that certain box, and that's okay. And the stories that you're going to hear on this podcast are by other women who have managed to do that. And I just want you to feel like when you listen to this podcast, God, if she can do it, so can I. If she managed that, so can I. If she got out of that relationship, so can I. If she built that business, so can I. And that's exactly what I want you to feel every time you listen to this. So just be aware of that. Be aware of your energy. Be aware of how everything's impacting you, because I feel like our progress as women is being sabotaged on a subconscious level, on a conscious level, and also on a geopolitical level right now. And in a time where you just have to open your phone to be brainwashed in some way by a multi-million-dollar tech company, it's a time for you to take charge of your focus, take charge of where you want to spend your time and your energy and how you want to grow it, and really focus on looking after yourself so that you can give back to others. And in that book, The Map of Consciousness, there's a quote that I love, and it says, "Life is your feedback loop. You strengthen in yourself the identical things you strengthen in others." So life is your feedback loop. You strengthen in yourself the identical things that you strengthen in others. So by you growing and you achieving that success and you being the best version that you can be, you're reflecting that in other people. So if we want to create a change in our society now, then it starts with us. It starts with our own joy. It starts with our own happiness. It starts with us accessing that subconscious and creating the change that we know that we need to in order to live our most authentic lives. So welcome to the next episode, or welcome to the next season of She Can, and I can't wait to bring you some really inspiring stories from incredible women who have done exactly what you're looking to do, so that you can see that if she can, then so can you.